Every politician and journalist who discredited the Gaza Health Ministry's undercount of the dead should be banished from public life. That tweet by our old friend Abby Martin, uh, there's a lot in there, and we're gonna try to talk about what's in there. We're gonna talk about what inspired this tweet, which is an article from The Lancet, which we will also break down in great detail on the reality show. But yeah, in one sentence, which doesn't even have a period or a full stop, which might continue in some future date. Abby Martin shows a lot about who she is and how she thinks and how she what she thinks of her own audience, who will look at that, look at again the different parts of it, her enthusiastic support for Hamas as statisticians, while criticizing them for actually getting it wrong, but also criticizing those who question terrorist numbers when it comes to a war that the terrorists started and insist on continuing basically to the death. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Again, today we are discussing Abby Martin. So this is one of those episodes that should maybe come with some sort of a viewer discretion disclaimer. She really is uh, incredibly despicable, even by the standards of some of the people we talk about on the show. Daniel, you've seen the tweet, you have read the article, your thoughts, initial thoughts, and then we'll get into the details.
So first of all, I think she's just a friend of yours. She's no friend of mine. But yeah, so I saw the tweet, and again, it's kind of like a problem that I always have. So it specifically says, every politician and journalist who discredited the Gaza Health Ministry's undercount of the dead should be banished from public life. And one problem I have with the Gaza's Health Ministry of Health numbers is they are not wrong. They are purely arbitrary. They have no basis in reality. It's not a problem that they are too low, they are too high, they are missing some aspect. They are completely made up. And even going to so basically the way these numbers get reported is, Gaza Health Ministry reports them. Then usually the organization that is actually uniting all of is actually getting all this information is the OCHA, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Usually when people are citing the numbers, they are taking from this side who gets them from the Gaza Health Ministry. And this office makes very much sure that the source Gaza Health Ministry of Health is very little in the corner. You can almost barely see it, and it just says MOH Gaza. It doesn't even say full thing, which I think should be like a big problem, especially because it says two more things. It also says GMO and PCD. I'll talk a bit later about what they mean. But basically, yeah, you have these like, not all, what you call them, not all short acronyms, another acronyms are made equal. They just have them there again with no context of what do these actually mean. And yeah, then you have people just claiming, okay, these are the real numbers. We don't know, we have no idea what the methodology is, but it's the UN. It's the UN numbers. This is a organization that is working under UN. UN reports it, but what does the reporting mean? They are just reprinting the number that Hamas gave them. That's all there is. They don't have a way. So in the past, they had some way, basically in the past conflicts, and we might talk about when it comes to the article, we might even talk about some previous conflicts. But in the past, the UN had some sort of on-ground reporting of their own or some sort of way of checking the numbers. But now there's nothing like that. They are purely just taking the numbers and repost. It's basically an X repost. That's all it is when it comes to these numbers. So that would be my first big problem with what you said. But
So before I get to what specifically is the reason for this tweet, I actually want to start with kind of a minor issue, which is relatively minor, at least for the topic of the show, which is the end of the tweet. Every politician and journalist who discredited the Gaza Health Ministry's undercount of the dead should be banished from public life. You get an indication there of who Abby Martin is. I've said in the past about some figures who criticize bad things. I've never seen Abby Martin, or I don't think I've seen her criticize anything bad. She mostly criticizes the good. But those who criticize bad things, and we might think of them as allies, when we talk about what they actually think is a positive and what is the world that they would like to create, we hear that they're actually pretty bad people. With Abby Martin, she wants people banished from public life if they dispute what terrorists say. And what exactly banished from public life means, I don't know. She did used to work for the Russian government as a journalist, a propagandist. Now she's a propagandist. I think running her own propaganda outfit. But yeah, let's get to the point. So on the reality show, when we go through the article, we're gonna go through some of their sources and what that means. Here, I want to go to what the goal of such articles is, and Abby Martin's tweet is very much that goal. She's not responding to the article itself. She's responding to another tweet. That tweet is as such. It says, breaking. The Lancet has just published this article conservatively, estimating that the death toll in the Gaza genocide could be 186,000 people or more. That's 8% of the population obliterated. These are apocalyptic figures. I want to read from the actual article, and let me make it very, very clear that I'm not defending this article, but I am criticizing its defenders. So this article goes through, the fact that it says at some point the death toll is expected to be large, given the intensity of the conflict, destroyed healthcare infrastructure, severe shortages of food, water, and shelter, the population's inability to flee to safe spaces, and the loss of funding to UNRWA, one of the very few humanitarian organizations still active in the Gaza Strip. Yeah, I know everything here requires a breakdown of its own, and we'll get to that on the next show. But it continues. In recent conflicts, such indirect deaths range from 3 to 15 times the number of direct deaths. Applying a conservative estimate of 4 indirect deaths per 1 direct death to the 37,396 deaths reported, it is not implausible to estimate that up to 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributable to the current conflict in Gaza. So even their despicable propaganda does not say that 186,000 people died. They say we fully believe Hamas when they give us the number of 37,000, whatever it was. Uh, and then we're estimating based on past conflict. Of course, past conflicts not necessarily differentiating in their statistics between countries that what Israel does, which is try very much not to harm civilians, and conflicts where both sides go out of the way to harm civilians. That's not included in it. And then they estimate what the final toll after years, if you read the article, after years of famine, of all the things that could result from war, this is where it could be. Then again, the tweet that Abby Martin is responding to says, this could be the death toll. And then, of course, Abby Martin herself goes further and you know says what she says. I'll just one more thing. So our friend Eitan Fishberger he tweeted about this quite a lot. If you're not following him already, then you should. But he posted a screenshot of a tweet from Martin McGee, one of the journalists, or one of the authors of this article. We're going to talk about him on the next show. But he says, this is a response to someone, and as our piece has been greatly misquoted and misinterpreted, can we clarify that all we are saying is that the Gaza figures are credible and indirect toll will in time likely be much higher. The figure we give is purely illustrative. So this to Abby Martin is gold. they throw out a number, they say we made it up, and she reports it as news. Daniel, I'm going to need a few minutes to calm down, so go ahead.
So when I was a child, about 8 years old, we used to play this game. We called it a deaf telephone. And I tried to Google it, and I think in English you call it Chinese whispers, which sounds a bit racist, but that's what I found on Wikipedia. And the goal of the game is basically you have about few people. Let's say it's good to have at least like 4, 5, 6, 7 people, but the more the better. And basically, what you do is the first kid gets a sentence, and they whisper it to the other person, and then they whisper it to the next person, and it goes all the way through until the end. And then basically, you all, in a sense, collectively win if the same thing comes out, or if it's funny, if it's something weird and something not someone says broken telephone, so that might be the name of the game in English. And these articles seems like pretty much the same thing. They say, uh, based on if we believe these numbers are true, or let's say we believe these numbers are true, and based on those, if we look at other conflicts and what happened, the subsequent famine or subsequent lack of healthcare will result in X more amounts of death. They say that, they just put it there, and then the next person says, this many deaths will happen if this conflict goes on. Then the next person says, all numbers are true, everything is right, everything is horrible, and it's all completely getting destroyed. This is what is happening. This is, Abe Martin is the end of it, or this will continue forward. And what these articles do, again, is that now this is the new reality. You'll never be able to debunk this. Even if the original writers of the article will, track back, or let's say even if the article gets deleted, that's it. This will be the news. This will be the news, and this will be the new information that will always be said. And you will never be able to debunk this. This is the reality now. And that's why it's so problematic when things like these come out. Yeah, anything. Well, actually, let me
Yeah,
before we go to, let me quickly just mention one more thing, because I know this the idea of people under rubble. I just want to quickly mention it because I'm not sure if we'll get back to you. So this is on the official website of the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. There's 38,000 or almost 38,000, and then there's also more than 10,000 people are believed to be under rubble. And again, it's a different source. This is not Gaza Health Ministry. This is actually the GMO and PCD, the Government Media Office, and the Palestinian Civil Defense. Both of them are based in Gaza. Both of them are under direct control of the government. This is not, and again, this is portrayed as something different. And when I see people reporting it, they are, many people are catching up to the idea that the Gaza Health Ministry is actually, Ministry of Health is actually controlled by Gaza. So now we have this different organization that is reporting it. It is also controlled by Hamas, but we are getting few months to report this in this way until people catch up again.
thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says she loves Hamas. Yes, she absolutely does. And I don't think she loves Hamas, because of what so-called pro-Palestinian people want us to believe, that, they think they take care of the Palestinians or whatever. No, she loves Hamas because Hamas kills Jews. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. No, Daniel, I don't accept a broken telephone analogy. Broken telephone is you come up with some bullshit. That's where the resemblance ends. And then you whisper it in somebody's ear and they try to hear it. And sometimes they can't because you're whispering and, there's stuff going around. And then at the end, maybe you end up with something different. Here, they jump on any opportunity to lie about anything if it promotes their cause of creating anti-Israel sentiment when it comes to wanting to affect foreign policy, anti-Semitism when it comes to affecting how Jews are treated in Western countries. This is the goal. So there's no way she tweeted that without looking at the article and knowing that she is lying about their lies and doubling down on it. She knows very well what she's doing here. The guy whose tweet she's quoting knows very well what he's doing. The people who wrote this know very well what they're doing, and their tweet kind of saying, "Look, you mischaracterized our lie." Essentially, of course, they're not calling it a lie. Is neither here nor there. They need to maintain some pretense of scientific research and a scientific method there, which of course we're gonna talk about and call bullshit on it. But no, there is no genuine attempt to get at the truth here. Otherwise, if there was, then these people wouldn't be on the side that they're on to begin with, let alone taking it so far that they probably lose credibility among some of their own, or at least lose, are kind of less likely to be cited by some on their side who they want, to or who would like to recruit others to their side. Because nobody semi-rational will look at this at this article and at the way it's reported and think, you know what? Well, now I have to take it seriously because now there's evidence that maybe we can say 186,000 because there is none.
Yeah, and so maybe talking about more the article itself, again, what is the motivation behind publishing it? Because, something that we've heard a lot about is the fact that the famine in Gaza is coming. It has been coming since October 7th, has been coming every month, that we are just on the verge of famine. I mean, you could probably go back and find like 7 different articles from like 7 different months that says we are on the verge of famine. And again, there's the story about the boy crying wolf. Like, it's not unbelievable to imagine that there will be famine there at some point. It's not unbelievable to imagine that, yeah, people are dying or that people are under rubble and cannot be normally counted. But what is happening is they are taking everything. They are basically saying the worst thing, the worst thing is happening right now, and unless we stop it, everyone will die. Basically, they are always getting to such an extreme to they are pretty much not giving any possibility to the fact that it is not the worst it can be. It's similar to basically the climate scare. Uh, every year, it's unless we fix it this year, it's basically over, and this has been going on for decades now. And yeah, and with this article again, well, one, that number really seems to be, I mean, it says illustrative, but that means just made up. I mean, it just means it's whatever. Like, what are you basing it on? If they said, this is based on how the previous conflict went on, that could be something that could go on. But again, if you just say, yeah, it's illustrative, we made it up, again, it loses all its credibility. And talking about the journal itself, so I haven't heard much about it, before checking into the topic. The journal is The Lancet, but I hear it's like a prestigious health journal. But something I would ask, so this is not like an actual study or something. It's pretty much just opinion piece. It's just a, couple people getting together and publishing this. But again, if the journal allows this to happen, what does it mean? Well, either it's giving their weight in the fact that they have a credibility. Many people are reporting it as the credible journal published this, and they are using the fact that the journal has a certain prestige to advocate for it. And so I would ask, if the journal allows this to happen, maybe, it is just an opinion piece and they can hide behind that. But again, they are allowing it to happen and they are putting their reputation behind it.
So it's not, I mean, we know it's an opinion piece, but it's not presented as an opinion piece. It's presented as, look, we have applied the scientific method to come to the conclusion that Israel has exterminated 8% of the population. So, of course, this is a genocide. Of course, this was a genocide, remember, by some of these people on day one. They called it a genocide. They called it a genocide before. They call it a genocide while knowing that, while believing Hamas numbers about the population, which if you do, the population keeps growing. But again, so anyway, I went down the rabbit hole there with Abby Martin's different tweets, and I went back a few days and saw this another tweet by her saying Western leaders have been lying about the possibility of a Palestinian state for 20 years. This and she's quoting an Associated Press article which said, breaking, Israel has approved the largest seizure of land in the occupied West Bank in over 3 decades, anti-settlement watchdog says, which of course, the last part of it, the rest, I hear that kind of crap all the time. The last part of it, I'm like, okay, let me see what is their source of information? And again, this is the Associated Press. If we're talking about trusted sources, trusted names, people see this as a very trusted source. And I look at it, and it's that their source on it is Peace Now, or in Hebrew, Shalom Achshav. Peace Now is the exact translation, although I prefer to translate it to Peace in Our Time. I think that's more appropriate, fits well with the Chamberlain statement after he signed the deal with Hitler. And the Peace Now is an organization that is a propaganda organization for the Palestinians. They have pushed uh, unabashedly for the policies that brought basically that caused more and more deaths of Israelis and brought us to October 7th, and they're still pushing those policies. And the idea there, so Abby Martin's tweet once again was something to do with the Western leaders have been lying about the possibility of a Palestinian state for 20 years, which is again one of those things that are more telling about what she thinks about the Palestinians, because what she's saying here is, okay, Israel is expanding the settlements, which are an obstacle to peace. Jews living is not what Palestinians want, and they won't accept it as part of a peace deal. Jews building homes is the problem. Palestinians killing Jews is, I guess, the solution to that problem. So, you see them, you see how they always get the facts intentionally wrong, but what you also see is their values come out when they are analyzing those supposed facts.
Yeah, it really does make me think of like what is the actual journalistic integrity one should have. Because again, if there is an organization that has been lying in the past, let's say just take Hamas or the Gaza Health Ministry, they've been exaggerating the numbers, they've not been reporting it correctly. Hamas is like an actual terrorist organization. They have been spreading propaganda in any way they can, or even the fact that they are hiding behind they're using human shields. They're hiding behind their own people. In a sense, they are operating from hospitals, operating from schools. And then you report these numbers and just say, Ministry, the Gaza Health. I actually need to know the full one because I keep getting it wrong. I feel like the Ministry of Health in Gaza. They're doing they have been doing these all things, and then you just report it. I mean, you are technically right? You're just saying, okay, this is the number we have, and this is where we gave it to from. But again, if you know it is from someone who is lying, by even if you say this is from this, by not explaining what is this actual source, what does it mean, and what does it imply, you are complicit in spreading these lies. You are complicit in spreading the propaganda. Again, the news, they want to talk about something. They want to find information and they want to give it to people, but not giving the proper context, not giving what these numbers actually mean, not saying, okay, it's this organization and this is its affiliations with Hamas. Again, they are complicit, and I think this is something that's very problematic when it comes to Western style journalism, because to large extent we do rely on them. I mean, we need people to be on ground to basically to gather information so we can talk about it. We so far we don't have that many resources that we could send a person into to have a person in Israel or send person into Gaza and do the on-ground reporting. But again, by them being complicit in these things, they are losing the credibility in my eyes.
Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, how would they force Israel to give up East Jerusalem for the Palestine state? Look, how are they getting concessions? How were they getting concessions in 93? And then afterwards, during Netanyahu's first term in office. And then under Barak, they got everything they claimed they want and responded with terrorism because Israel, is sending a message by saying we will give you what you want in response to terrorism. That is Israel calling for more terrorism. After October 7th, Israel is sending food into Gaza while that food is used by the terrorists who are killing Israeli soldiers and planning to kill Israeli civilians. So how will they do it? They'll keep terrorizing the people and potentially political. Look, you have people protesting in Israel, demanding that Israel capitulate more than it already is doing. So yeah, I think look, they're winning, unfortunately, and by the way, they're winning because of Israeli weakness, because of Western weakness, moral weakness, not actual military weakness. Militarily, Israel can win right now. This before maybe not before this show is over, but before the reality show is over, this war can be over with a victory that will be decisive enough to ensure that October 7th doesn't happen again. Uh, they don't want to do it. And look, we are, and when you see Western weakness, the pro-Hamas people are it emboldens them. They see it and they jump on that weakness, and they see how their lies are being taken as fact by mainstream media, by politicians, and it inspires them to keep lying. And you know Abby Martin lies about something. She has a massive audience, and that audience laps it up, and they have never heard something different. So, uh, if everybody who is watching right now, just clicks the like button, puts a comment in the chat, the comment doesn't have to be, you don't have to use up the 200 characters. If you put a thumbs up or a Lisa Van Damme emoji or anything you want, that will help more people see this. Now, we're still not going to get Abby Martin numbers, but the world needs to hear what the Palestinian side is throughout, and they are trying to tell us, but we refuse to listen. So I encourage everybody to share this content, to join us on the reality show where we really are going to break down this article in the Lancet. And yeah, look, this it isn't looking good, but we are going to fight it as long as we can, and we will do that in 2 minutes in the reality show. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Daniel, and we'll see you on TRS.